Hi, seems like the weather's not cooperating today. My name is Dr. Ordewer. I'm looking forward to meeting you all in person, hopefully tomorrow. But let's spend a few minutes talking about intervals of real numbers. So the real numbers are basically every number from negative infinity to infinity, everything in between, the whole numbers, the fractions, the irrational numbers like square root of 2, they all lie on the real number line somewhere. So the real number line, which we usually denote by a capital R with a double bar down the left-hand side, is everything between negative infinity and infinity. And so it's just basically everything on the real number line everywhere. I want to talk about intervals of real numbers like that. If I write 1 to 3 with round parentheses around that, what that means is all real numbers that are strictly bigger than 1 and strictly smaller than 3. So everything going from 1 to 3, but not including the 1 and not including the 3. Now there are infinitely many numbers in there, not just the number 2. I mean, 2 certainly is in there, but so is 1.5 and 2 1/4. All those numbers are in there. And when we indicate this on the number line, to indicate that 1 is not in this interval, we put an open circle there. To indicate that 3 is not in the interval, we put an open circle there. And we highlight everything in the middle. And you can see that there really are infinitely many numbers in there because it's not just the whole numbers, it's everything between 1 and 3. When you put round parentheses around an interval, this is called an open interval. By contrast, let's take a look at this interval. This time, instead of using round parentheses, I use square brackets. And so what we want is square bracket 1, comma 3. This is called a closed interval. And it's everything between 1 and 3, but this time we include the 1, and this time we include the 3, which is why these are less than or equal to signs rather than less than signs. So this time we're going to put a closed circle at 1 and a closed circle at 3, and we'll shade everything in the middle. And of course, there are infinitely many numbers in there too. The only difference between this and this is that here we didn't include the 1 and the 3, and here we did. Now here's kind of a hybrid. We put a parenthesis around 1 and a round bracket around, a square bracket around 3. This means pretty much what you'd expect it to mean. Include the 3, but not the 1. So that's why we have a less than or equal symbol here, so we know that x could be 3, but it can't be 1. This is called a half open interval. If you call it a half closed interval, I think anybody would know what you were talking about, but the typical way to refer to this is as a half open interval. And here we're going to put an open circle at 1, we're going to put a closed circle at 3, and we're going to fill everything in the middle in. Okay, here we have 1 to infinity. This just says everything starting at 1, and you can see the square bracket at 1. That means I include the 1. Everything going up to infinity. Whenever you have an infinity or a minus infinity, there is always a round parenthesis right next to the infinity or right next to the minus infinity. That's because they're not numbers. There's no way you can include them. You can't include infinity in the interval, but you can include anything that sort of goes in that direction. So 1 to infinity, we could write this as x is greater than or equal to 1, or you could just as well write it as 1 is less than or equal to x. That would mean exactly the same thing. X is bigger than 1. And we put a closed circle at 1 because this is a square bracket greater than or equal to, and we shaded everything to the right. Okay, let's take a look at some additional symbols here. We know what the open interval -2, 1 means, everything between -2 and 1, not including the -2, not including the 1, that's why those are open circles. We know what everything between 0 and 2 means, including the 0, including the 2, so this symbol right here means intersection. That little sort of hump symbol. And that just means every number that is in this first interval and simultaneously in the second interval. So we can see that -1 is in the first interval, but it's not in the second interval, so we don't include it. So if we're sort of scanning from left to right, the first time we hit a number that's in both is at 0. 0 is in the first interval, and it's in the second interval, so we include it. And we keep including stuff. So a half is in the first interval, it's in the second interval, so we include it. 3/4 is in the first interval, and in the second interval, so we include it. At 1 is in the second interval, but it's no longer the first interval. So that's sort of where things end. And we just shade everything in the middle. That's kind of a shorty interval. But there's infinitely many numbers in there. A half is in there, a quarter is in there, 3/4 in there, 0.999 is in there, but 1 is not. So this symbol, intersection, it just means stuff that's simultaneously in both things. This symbol right here, we refer to as union. That's stuff that's in one or the other or both. So again, scanning from left to right, it's not in the first, not in the second, not in the first, not in the second. Once we pass 2, we're in the first one. So we start including stuff past 2. We don't include the, past -2, I should say. We don't include the -2, so we'll put an open circle there. But we do include stuff, so yes, 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 it's in the first one. At 0 now we're in both. At 1 we're still in the second one. And 1.5 is still in the second one. We're still in the second one all the way up to 2. So we include everything from -2 to 2. And let me just show you one more interval. This is just the empty set. That just means no numbers at all. Hope to see you tomorrow.